think notebooks are awesome. You may have different feelings about it, but they let you mix code, markdown, and create visuals all in the same place. And because of that, you can see your data while you work with it, creating this iterative development experience that's unmatched in any other editor. And it's not just me. There's over 10 million Jupyter notebooks on GitHub. And these examples are like cutting-edge research on GPT transformers, black hole research, and audio-visual analysis. It's used all the way from academia even to production for some companies like Netflix. However, not everyone shares this feeling. I scoured social media, and these are like the reputation for notebooks. Like people say it sucks, you can't use it in production, it's only like a playground. And it's so bad that we have two other events or talks during this event that talk about how notebooks are like bad and how we should fix them. So what's the problem with notebooks? There are a few. One is there's hidden state. In this example, I have two cells, x is 1 and x, the output of x is 0, and they reflect two different like states in your application. This is because the second cell hasn't been rerun yet. And if I delete the first cell, x still holds a value. So these are simple snippets, but if you create a large notebook where you have multiple definitions of x and some cells are mutating x, who knows what the program would actually run when you share it with someone else. So it creates a lot of reproducibility issues. It's also not very maintainable. So this is for Python notebooks. I'll talk a little bit about other languages, but Python notebooks are stored in IPYNB format, not a Python file. So you end up with Git diffs like this. And you try to version control and apply like good Python practices, it's really difficult. It's also not very reproducible. So what ends up in production with data scientists is they come up with like 10 notebooks, all named untitled, and it's very difficult to code share, like create reusable functions, and apply like good software practices. So with that in mind, could we create or reimagine how notebooks are created? Could we make it reproducible? So the code on the page matches the outputs that you see. Can you make it maintainable like any other software and apply the best practices of engineering? And can we make it productionizable, execute it as a script, deploy it as a web app? From there was born Marimo. It's a reactive Python notebook that's open source with a lot of batteries built in. Akshay, who created Marimo, was doing his PhD in Stanford, and he ran into a lot of problems with Jupyter. So he created this. And I've been working on Marimo, the open source, for about 1 year now. So firstly, unpacking what a reactive notebook means. Traditional notebooks have a mutable workspace and an arbitrary cell execution order. So if you rearrange your cells, it may behave differently. And the execution history influences the state of your application. So I could run my Jupyter notebook in one way. If I share it with another person, it may run totally differently. So it's not, the outputs may not be reproducible. So to fix this, let's eliminate execution history. This isn't a new concept. So Excel does it as well. If I define one cell at the top, and all my subsequent cells refer to it, when the original cell changes, everything else changes as well. So there's like a single source of truth. Applying this to a notebook, I have 3 cells here, like x, y, and x plus y. If I change the first cell from 0 to 1, you would notice that the last cell, x plus y, the result changes to 2. And that's it. A link is created between the cells, so it recalculates based on your cell, based on the definitions of the cell. Naturally, there are some constraints that need to apply because, so if I deleted x here, we throw an error to the user that your notebook has something wrong with it, x is no longer defined, and you need to fix it. Oh, okay. So taking the step further, I could add a UI element like a slider, move it around, and it affects the markdown cell at the bottom. Then taking this to a more complex application, there are 2 cells here. One is a chart cell, and another one displays the values of the selection. So the chart is actually showing a diagram of handwritten digits. So if you notice, like the orange color is the number 1. So they are all grouped together. And if I want to inspect my data on the chart, I can create a selection. It returns back Python values that feeds into the second cell, and I can transform that values, which are like numerical digits, and create images. This is the code snippet for it. It's a bit small, but so at the top, I create a selection, I get back the value, I pass it into the last cell, and I can visualize the images. This is another sample. This is, I don't know if you know Dan Brown, or 3 blue, 1 brown. He has this famous like seam carving example, and it utilizes the same concept. So under the hood, how it works, we create a DAG based on the cells. We statically analyze your Python code, and each cell would have definitions and references. So if another cell has references to like cell A, we create an edge between them. So it will look something like this, where you define A, and then B and C, who refer to it, would update if A updates. It's also a pure Python file format, so you don't need to create a custom file format. You can apply rough and other linting tools that are familiar to Python users. It will look something like this. So the first one is a markdown cell. So you can easily use with Git, and you can execute it as a Python script, like Python run notebook. So this isn't unique to just Python. These are 2 examples in the different languages. Pluto is for the Julia programming language, and Observable is for JavaScript. It looks something like this. So if you're interested in other forms of reactive notebooks, you can consider those. To talk about databases, so Marimo supports DuckDB by default. I love DuckDB. So this is an in-memory engine. DuckDB can also connect to the cloud, but you can by default run DuckDB, and you can read like CSV, S3, Parquet, and you can create your transformations based on that. This is a more complex example using ClickHouse. I just created a connection to ClickHouse, create an SQL cell, read from S3, and I get to view the data from S3. And on the left, you see like a schema explorer. So you can inspect like what tables and views you have in your data. So let's introduce reactivity to this workflow with data, right? Here I create a drop-down of pickup locations. This is based on a taxi dataset. And the value of that drop-down feeds into the SQL query. And the result of that SQL query feeds into a chart. So what I end up is with an application like this. So this is app view where I hide all the code, and I can like just share this, like create a link that I can share with end users, and they can like play around with this dashboard or like application, change the drop-down value, and they can inspect the table and the chart. Okay, don't know how much time I have, but to wrap up, if you'd like to check us out, and you can go on GitHub. And there's also Molab, which is a form of Google Colab, but from Marimo notebooks. You can try it out. It also works in the browser, so you can use WebAssembly. Feel free to check us out. And if you want to connect with me, my page is down there. Here's the team, if you're interested. And that's all. Thank you.